Greetings, all you very rare individuals. Welcome to another Afro-Scot podcast. This is episode 9. We're going to talk about the crabs in the barrel mentality in the African community. And we're first going to talk about your neighbors. Now, me, myself, growing up, we had a few, and I knew a few neighbors and people who are African. And anytime you had something, they also had to have it. You know, if you had this amount, they also had to have it. It was never let's actually encourage each other. It was always a show of who has the best stuff. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, arguments just start and all sorts of things just happen. I remember growing up and going to school as well. If you have another African in the same class, you know, instead of them trying to pull you up, it seems to be a competition to see who's the best African in the room. And where does that take anybody? It doesn't take you anywhere. I mean, the crabs in the barrel mentality is really huge in the African community. And even if we have to go and talk about business too. In business, if one African starts a restaurant, another African starts the same restaurant, selling the same exact stuff. No originality, no creativity. When I go to Korean shops or Korean stores, all the Koreans go to that store. They don't have 50 of the same ones. And even if they have 50 of the same ones, it's in the same family and they all help each other. In the African community, the money that we even make, we don't even put back into the community. It's really just for ourselves. You know, it's really all just who has the best things. And you can also see that in countries in Africa where when you're in Africa and somebody has something really nice, that's when you have some respect. You know, if you don't have much, there's no respect for you. There was a story that one of my uncles told me about somebody who was a pastor, and his friend, the pastor's friend, never knew that he was a pastor who owned a massive church. And it wasn't until he actually went to his friend's church, the pastor's church, was when he said, "Wow, I never knew you had a church this big. I should have shown you more respect." You know, and my uncle said from that day on, the pastor never spoke to him in that way, in a friendly way anymore, because he realized and he saw who he really was. So it's a huge problem, and it destroys the community, the African community, because now you've got a bunch of kids who don't really want to support each other. They just want to show that they're the best, and it becomes a whole ego thing, you know. And it's the same with me as well. If you start certain things, you see that somebody else is doing the exact same thing, you know, and it just becomes a competition, and other Africans egg it on as well. They like us fighting against each other, you know, and the media likes us fighting against each other. Everybody likes us fighting against each other, you know, because they know that if we come together, we'll be much stronger. And this then makes us the butt of jokes. You know, we become the butt of jokes. You know, everybody's heard of things like African time. You know what I mean? Everybody's heard of things like, you know, it's a running joke in the African community that we always seem to be doing the same thing all the time. You know, you can even see that in music as well. You know, I like pioneers, people who are going to come up with their own things. You know, people blazing their own trail. And that also goes back to self-expression. If you're really expressing who you are, you won't feel the need to copy anybody else. So how do we fix something like this? Now, I can only tell you how to fix it through my own experiences and how I fixed it for myself. You fix it by making sure you know who you are. I've said this so many times on my podcast. Know who you are. Ask yourself questions. Actually get to know and write it down. Who you are as a person. What do you like and what do you want to achieve? You know, what do you like? What do you dislike? What do you love? Ask yourself these questions. A lot of people don't ask themselves these questions. Just run into it. Ask yourself these questions, and those are the questions that I ask myself. And then when you know yourself and what you like about yourself, and you're able to really express who you are deep inside, you don't feel the need to copy each other or copy anybody else. And I don't want to copy anybody else because I like who I am. So that's what you do. You learn to express who you are, and through expressing who you are, you'll be able to find your own identity, and that way you won't feel the need to push and self-sabotage and sabotage other people as well just because they're doing good.